Hi, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, my name is Christopher Raybans. I'm a photographer and the founder of Teleoculus. In this series, I'll be covering the continued story of my journey as a photographer and business owner. But first, if you like this kind of content and you want to see more of it, feel free to press the like button and subscribe, especially if you want more personalized content like this. Previously, I talked about the rise and fall of Legionnaire Industries. It's a charity-like organization that I built in 2019 and I maintained until its inevitable enclosure in 2025. It was a charity that focused on more or less my immediate circle of friends, with like coworkers and my family who had dreams and needed funding for it. However, because I wanted to scale the organization so I could reach more people, I would try to expand out to people who could actually afford it. But it went from being a charity to becoming a lending service, and thankfully only 3 clients were offered any funding and all payments were closed out. Legionnaire Industries would close out for good in 2025, recent, taking down its webpage and seizing all operations and offers completely. There just wasn't any money in it, nor was there a sound business strategy to support the numerous failings. But let's take it all back just a few years. In 2025, as a service member, or 2023, I'm made a drill instructor or drill sergeant, whichever you prefer. And I find myself in Columbus, Georgia. Unfortunately, I would go on to experience a devastating loss as my stepfather is hospitalized and dies shortly after. The grief of his death is ever present in my day-to-day because I choose to remember my dad every waking moment that I can. I do this because I love my dad very much, and his memory of that I have of him guides me forward to strive forward to make something of my life. He was a good man. Sometime after my stepdad's death, I'm with my mother and we're sorting through some of his effects, and she hands me a box, and within the box there's a camera, but it's inside an external bag with a flash and batteries. Inside the bag is a Canon Rebel EOS. It's a 35mm film camera, and I recall my mother telling me that the camera used to belong to my stepdad. I couldn't remember ever seeing my dad with a camera like that one, but she would go on to explain to me that with the phones that have convenient cameras on them, that the Canon didn't really get any opportunity to get used. I inspected the bag and its contents, looking them over and realizing that I hadn't any clue how to use them at all. But none of that mattered at all, because it was my old man's camera and I would cherish it all the same. My curiosity for the camera and its connection to my dad would lead me to go into a Barnes & Noble's in my area, and I would go around browsing for information on how to use the camera. After about an hour of using or browsing and grande hot chai, I found a book called Everything You Need to Know in 20 Weeks of Digital Photography. And for about half a year, I would go page by page, right? Learning about photography, and things that I couldn't have possibly imagined. The book was very elaborate, explaining key points on techniques and accessories that are helpful for the creative journey of taking photos. In the beginning, the lessons were simply to execute. However, some of the lessons required me to purchase accessories like ND filters and reverse lens kits, and I would use my dad's Canon for about a week, never really developing any of those photos to this day. There is no elaborate reason why. However, it's just, I am curious as to how I did in that first year, so I'll get back to that. Shortly after that though, I would purchase my first camera. The Sony Alpha 7 II mirrorless camera is where I would start my journey establishing myself as an amateur photographer. But working as a drill sergeant, processing grief and practicing in photography, I would secure items like tripods and external flashes, as well as bags to carry the equipment. I spent most of my time purchasing these kinds of items on the internet, but would stumble into a Best Buy for a few items. On a particular day, I was in Best Buy to purchase a 50mm lens, probably what I'm using now. When I made it to the checkout counter, a lady working there at Best Buy asked me if I was a photographer, striking up conversation. I said, yeah, and then she asked me for my information. She wanted me to help take photos of confectionery desserts that she was hoping to post as business marketing. I didn't think that I was an actual photographer who could actually do that for somebody, but then I committed to the idea. So I said I would help her. She asked for my business card. At the time, I had some old business cards from the past, and the card still read Legionnaire Industries. Embarrassed, I told her to call a number and to book an appointment, and that we would hash out the details later. I thanked her for her support and her kindness, and I made my way back to my truck. I slowly built up the idea of creating a business, of offering my services and receiving financial compensation for it. It's a simple idea, but I was far from being a professional photographer. I hadn't thought of creating a business for quite some time, but I had hope that I could create something that might be of some use, both financially and creatively. Thank you again for joining me on this journey. Please leave a comment below, ask about the channel and the projects that are going on in Teleoculus. Press the like if you enjoyed this content, and subscribe for more personalized content. Thanks again.